so I can click mute on my end.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So we are live probably right now. I'm just letting the maintenance thing do its thing because I gotta click mute because you're gonna hear me in a second. It's gonna be really annoying. It's gonna like echo. Um, there's a bit of a delay going on. Okay, so good morning. I am higher vibrations and so are you. Today is an awesome day. We're getting to, oh, I got that. Okay, and then let's hit record. There we go. Let's start over. I'm just gonna restart. Good morning. I'm higher vibrations and so are you. I just wanted to quickly, before we get started, to say that a lot of people are having a high report of ascension symptoms right now. There's a lot going on. And it's very fascinating, the varied experience. I know that if any of you follow any of these things like the Schumann resonance and the solar flares and stuff like that, we had some crazy activity yesterday, last night. I know that we're having a really weird purge happening. People are having some odd experiences. So just to validate any of you that are going through anything like that, there's a lot going on right now. And then I am going to reshare this. The reason that we're going live the way we are right now instead of the way we typically do is Restream is just something's going on with most technology, I would say. Though Restream for me is just it's just not doing it. So I'm gonna share this out this way, and that is why there hasn't been a upcoming event thing. So anyway, I just want to say welcome to our wonderful guest. Mia's here joining us. I got to meet her just a little while ago. It's not really, we've only just really started to talk. And I've enjoyed every conversation that we've had and immediately asked her to join me in this show today. She's got a lot of experience in more ways than she probably realizes. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And how are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Thanks. It was cool when when I first chatted with you several weeks back. It was.
Has it been that long?
I know it's just the beginning of this month, but in a way, I almost feel. I mean, because I think because I've been following you online when you were having conversations with Todd and Elsa, and so in a interesting way, it's like I think I know you, but I don't really know you. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of when you with certain people I've noticed with certain people that I've met, I get a feeling that like I know you. I've known that person, but not from like because I met them face to face, but from somewhere else, some other time, parallel universe, however, you know, and you just gotta, it's just that deep soul knowing. So
And then we rejoined each other, you know? I
mhm.
agree. We all do this in a lot of ways. That's really cool that we're like reuniting in our soul families, you know, and finding ourselves again by finding one another. When did your journey begin, your awakening? At
Well,
least the phase
when
that you feel like the most profound, I guess.
well, you know, I can't say that there was one profound moment because I'm sure looking back, there were moments of that doesn't seem right, that doesn't seem right, but I just, it didn't register with me until 2020 with the whole COVID thing because I was an activist before that. And, but I think being an activist led me to keep searching for the truth, you know, and so, but how that was playing out was like, something's not right. That's how it was for me. Like that didn't feel right. And was chatting very much with a good friend of mine who was also an activist. Um, and so that's kind of this whole like that light bulb, like we're both having this, we were waking up to, even though I think we were probably half awake, um, and on our way to really awakening. And there's, I know there's several, there's not just one, there's like several levels or layers of awakening, I guess. So yeah, it was just like I said, a light bulb moment of a, okay, something's not right. And we were just like questioning so many different things that were like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, and it was cool in a way because we were sharing things that were like, yeah, she knew stuff. And I was like, okay, like how many rabbit holes did we go down over the past couple of years, you know? And I'd say that was kind of it, you know, of like, and I think out of respect, I was following the rules, whatever that meant, just to be respectful. But I knew it's like, no, just be respectful to the end of the year of 2020. I'm like, that's it, no more. I just, it was just like, I was not one to follow rules, you know?
That's really cool. You had a buddy in the awakening. Like that's something that's really uncommon. I would say probably pre 2020. 2020 was a very big awakening year for a lot of people. I had an awakening that year too.
Yeah.
Just like you said, we have many, and 2020 was a different kind of awakening for me where I found out other people are doing this stuff too. I didn't know that. So this activism that you did, I can really relate. I think all of us do. We have something that we did like this before we realized, or it was part of our awakening in some way. How long did you do that? I'm just curious.
Years. You know, I don't even remember. I really don't remember when I first started. Um, Gosh, because I think in little ways I was like, Liz, I'm not going to do what you're telling me, you know, like that kind of thing. I guess it started even before being an activist because my dad was in politics, so I guess I was watching him. He wasn't so much an activist. He was on the city council, so but he was definitely for the people. That's sort of where I got it from my wait, you know, this is how it really works. He was not, I mean, he was a local politician, so he was not, you know, in the pockets of anybody, literally. So I guess that's for me was like, okay, that's sort of where it started of watching my dad. And then it was sort of like certain things just didn't seem right. And I don't know the exact day, but it just felt like I guess it was started politically for me of like, okay, I was with one particular party and I'm like, nope, that's not right. And I guess moving in the middle and being an activist starting it that way.
Yeah.
Of just kind of like, okay, let's go out in the streets. And it was environmental activism, which at that time I belonged to a specific church and like the environmental activism stuff, listening to another woman in the church say, talk about it. And that kind of made sense to me at the time.
Mhm.
And then we formed a local version of 350. You know, so it was cool because, you know, it was just a small group of us. None of us were paid. It was just something we just felt at the time that we wanted to do and speak out. And that's kind of how it started was, okay, and we like held a meeting and several people showed up. And then we're like, this is what we're going to do. And some people's interests were, you know, about the food and about the environment. It was all connected.
Mhm.
And we just kept meeting and saying, what do we do next? Okay, let's do that. Let's talk in front of the town council. Let's talk in front of the county. You know, let's go march in Washington. Let's go, you know, 2 hours away, you know. So it was, and just we were just kind of like all over the place. And
Mhm.
people then started were like, oh, you're with that organization. And it was just something that was innate. It was exhausting, but it was so much fun for me
Yeah.
just to be what I thought was, yeah, this is great. We're gonna just go kick some butt, you know.
Right.
But it was just something that to me I got excited about, as exhausted as I was driving 2 hours away or waking up very early,
Right.
watching a friend get arrested, you know, but it was all good. It was all for the right reason. Um, so it was just kind of made sense to me, I think,
That's
to stand up for something. I think all of us, you know, feel in some way our rights were just being diluted and diluted. Like something's not right, so we got to say something, whatever that issue is. And that's probably another reason why people were waking up in 2020. Like, wait, what's going on here?
yeah.
Why are we being told we have to do X, Y, and Z when we've never had to do that?
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, so.
You just the way you worded this is awesome. It really aligns with a lot of people's experience, whether it's politics or some other practice. Because that's what we're doing when we do those things. We're practicing for now. Like, we jump on whatever cause we feel is important, and and then we learn how to pursue this way. Like I saw Kavana, she mentioned hippie. And I'll actually read it. She says, being from the hippie generation really did question everything, especially authority and war. It was good training. Hey, I said training too. It was good training for waking up to reality. Exactly. And so all of us found some kind of cause, some purpose, someone who was being stepped on by somebody else. I actually was a violent person in high school. I beat up the bullies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I've always been a lot stronger than I look. And I mean, I would beat up the guys. Like I was beating up the football player.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
not, yeah, I'm not entirely proud of it, but it is some one of those things I look back on and go, I mean, what? Because I would disappear consciously during those moments. Like I would want to help somebody. And there's this kid who hasn't had his growth spurt yet and also likes D&D like I did, you know what I mean? And then there's the people that were picking on him and I would want to help. And then I'd become aware again and I'd have blood on my knuckles and there were people on the floor,
Oh
you
my
know?
God.
And that happened. Though there was part of me that had planned to do something, and I had created a reputation for myself. Almost every one of my signatures in the yearbook said, I'm glad I'm your friend and not your enemy.
Oh my gosh.
But and it leads us or prepares us for this next moment. So what was your awakening like? And being your a boom awakening in 2020, that had to have been really cool. How did that unfold?
In some ways, I'm like, because I was trying to be my true authentic self. And I kept trying to point out things like on Facebook. I got rejected. It was like shot
Mhm.
down. I hate that word, but just like, what do you mean? That's not true. I'm like, yes, it is. It was weird because I was trying to be my truthful self that people had known. And it felt like suddenly people were mad at me. And it
Yeah.
made no sense to me. I'm like, especially like family and friends. And it was just, and my friend, it was a very weird experience because on one hand, it's like seeing people fall in line where I was like, again, I said I wanted to be respectful, but for short periods of time, like going into a store or a restaurant, that was weird too. But like I'm like, wear a mask walking in, sit down, take it off to eat, which of course, but you can't just like, what, you're going to the bathroom, put it back on. Like what? To me
None
anyway.
of lockdown
You
made sense.
yeah, but the whole thing was just like, okay, I felt it was weird. Like I felt I wasn't scared or nervous. I felt calm. Like, okay, like as if, oh, some things were starting to make sense. It's almost like looking back thinking, wow, all those the little puzzle pieces that I saw or were shown to me, um, were kind of like adding up and putting the bigger picture together for me.
Right.
Like there's even before the pandemic, before that awakening, like I saw someone on Facebook, I don't remember who had said, well, the world is upside down. And it was like, okay. And I stored it away, or something I'd seen on the news, or I stored it away. So it was all these bits and pieces of information that I stored away that suddenly was like, ha, so that's what I mean. It was good, but again, as I said, it was a little weird because people were mad at me and being upset with me because I just wasn't going to fall in line and do do what was asked or even you know get that thing in the arm.
Yeah. Right.
So and I had family that was mad at me for not doing it. And I'm like, because I had heard other people were becoming ill or for whatever reason something was going on. at the time I'm like, nope, it's just not, never had to do it before, like that. So
The
I
thing
just,
that got me the most about that was the way that they were bribing people to take it. I was getting email after email once they approved for the children. They're
mm,
offering me money to present my child. Like they were doing lotteries in some states where you get a number if you once you get in line and get the jab, and then you get a number and you could win a large sum of money. And like all of these, and like we had in Spokane, celebrities coming around, and they were giving autographs and photographs with the celebrities after you took it. And I just kept seeing over and over again, like a windowless paneled van with some strange man in there offering you candy. Don't take the candy. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was creepy in that sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like you said, it's like, ads or even in the paper or on the news, it's like, or on the TV about, see, this celebrity is saying yes, or and I was just like, I don't care. Not for all the money in the world, no. You know.
And the having the spiritual discernment for any topic, including this one, being able to consider whether or not it's a good choice, instead of just feeling like we have to do it. And it does when we don't fall in line, when we don't conform, follow the herd, it does cause irritation. I've always been that person. Like if more than a handful of people are doing something, then I go. And I didn't even read the Harry Potter books until the last one was just barely being written. Like and I was an avid reader at that time, and that's my genre, but it's just like, well, everybody else is doing it. Why? And so, and it does, you peel relationships peel away, naturally shed away. And what you described, it sounded to me like a dark night of the soul, so
Mm,
I think you having that, we notice that we're shedding relationships where people are becoming angry with us for being ourselves, and it's you're not falling into suit with what's going on, and neither are they. There's a polar experience happening, and so there's a natural shedding of relationships. And I would say that's the hardest part of an awakening, is that finding yourself alone for a while, you
right.
know.
But I will say though, it was one of those where I'm glad that you said that it was not common to have a buddy in the awakening, because that's how I felt like my friend Connie, who's at work right now. I love you, Connie. She'll watch it later. But yeah, she just was, yeah, she actually, it was great because having someone to talk to about this, because and I thought for sure some of the other activists or friends of mine would be with us, but realizing, okay, they're on their own journey, and that was totally fine, you know. Um, yeah, so it's just one of those things.
And often you'll find, I found, so the farmer doesn't tend, or that the farmer that plants the seed doesn't tend to watch the plant flourish in the awakening experience. I've discovered. I've only found this out because I'm on this public platform. I mean, like, I mean, I got only 5,000 people. It's not a big following, but it's enough that some of the individuals that I had interacted with throughout my life have found me
Okay.
and are in the awakening now. Before, as we parted ways all those years ago, I wouldn't have, I mean, if I was to put a judgment on it, I really didn't usually pay that close of attention. Though looking back, I probably would have thought that they weren't going to be on this awakening journey, just because they were so at that time, like many of us, dedicated to the life that they were in. And so I have the rare opportunity to get to have them come back around, and finding out that some of those individuals, I was the planter of the seed, and it's real, and so are you, and so is everyone. And the answer is that when someone's ready, there isn't anything that we can say that's wrong. and if they're not ready, there's nothing that you can say that will be helpful for them. It won't be, they won't hear it if they're not ready to hear it. And that's not our job. Our job is to just be in this experience and do what feels natural and to be the example, because we can't tell anyone what to believe and think, and it's hard, isn't it?
It's very hard. It's very hard because I giggle when you're saying that, because I thought it was my come on, wake up, and you can't. I mean, it's just everyone will hear it or not. Some people knew a lot way, way, way long ago, and some people were like some people, and it's already whenever their time is to be ready to learn and hear it and
Yeah,
hear different things,
yeah,
whatever it is that wakes them up, and it's interesting seeing people online like, oh, okay, now you get it. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I have another question about your awakening, if it's okay if I ask it.
Okay.
um so I didn't even prepare it to make it sound like, oh, here comes something scary. um when it came to your awakening, I'm just really curious, because tends to be some type of, like, there's a profound moment like this, where this, oh my goodness, like you started to go there, you started to explain it, where you were looking around and realizing that you didn't relate or agree with a lot of the.
Oh, right. It just was like, it was for me the news on the TV. And it's interesting because technically back in 2018 it was, I was very much involved locally, politically. It's how I grew up. And not voting one way or voting a different way. And someone said, I turn that stuff off. I'm being polite. So I did, because I was angry at the TV, and realizing, and there are other moments when I look back that again were part of the puzzle pieces. On like the news was like, it's the same thing, it's the same thing. It's not new. It's not, that, and looking back, I'm like, okay, it was like watching the news, they were meant to just repeat the same thing, repeat the same thing. I said, you know what I mean? So it was like, okay, and I picked up on it, but I didn't go, aha, I didn't have a light bulb moment like I did in 2020. But it was just like, the news is
Mhm.
always the same. It's kind of boring, so, but it was something where I can't say it like other than it was the whole pandemic thing that, in 2020, I was like many of us locally, we were just doing our thing, and I was going to go watch and listen to, actually, because I'd gotten sick. And that's something else that, looking back, like, I pick up on what everybody else is feeling ahead of time. Where
Mhm.
I didn't know hand sanitizer was going to be a thing. And before it, I used to just occasionally use it when I went and got gas, because everybody's touching that pump. So occasionally I would use it. I wasn't constant with it, but and then I got sick, like a head cold or like flu-like symptoms, and it was gone within a couple of days of um just taking care of myself and staying home and all that good stuff. And then I went with a friend of mine to hear somebody talk. I don't want to mention any political names, but it was just, um, so it was just something we thought, hey, this is great. And that was in the beginning of 2020, before many of us knew what was about to be thrust upon us. So I just
Yeah.
thought, hey, I'm just doing my thing. And then it was like, okay, like middle of the year, maybe. I don't know when if I don't know when it officially started, but then it was just like things started to get
The
weird.
lockdown was on my birthday.
Okay.
The federal lockdown was on my birthday, so it was Monday, March 27th, 2020.
Okay. End of March, yeah. Yeah, because things were not so, everything was like, hey, this is great, this is great. And it was just like, what? You know? Um, so yeah, I found myself going out for walks. Either by myself or with a friend of mine. Like, um, and just and was like, this doesn't make sense. And seeing all that weirdness, like people fighting for things that they would not normally fight for. It's weird, just and the TikTok videos. That was weird. That was just weird.
I
The nurses and the doctors dancing, it's like, huh?
I don't I actually pulled away from the news before a lot of the stuff that people know happened. And so I don't know what happened with TikTok. I just know all of a sudden people were saying don't watch TikTok, but I didn't have TikTok, so I was like, okay. It's like saying don't have Facebook. I didn't have Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
But I do know that I agree with you. I like we had this what I noticed that was so beautiful. So I every one of us have our different phases of awakening. And usually it starts as a child. Like there's something there,
Mhm.
though most people don't see it until later on, like sometimes years later. Um, and what's fascinating though is that by the time that we got to 2020, I mean, I was here, I was in it. I had just been made homeless just on May 2020. And
Okay.
so with a 5-year-old. And what was really cool about it was all of it was really neat. I could tell the quiet happened. All of these people who were so busy, because energy looks kind of like this. See the outside of my background here with these lines? That's what it looks like when people are sleeping at nighttime.
Uh,
And when they're not, it looks like it's tangled yarn. It's really a mess. And so messages from spirit aren't as clear, from each other aren't as clear. And that's why it's a lot easier to get all this stuff at night, is that it looks more like this. It's like a
ah,
stream. And the energy started to look like this in the daytime a little bit more. There was some static, and there was obviously people who were upset because you could see the parts and stuff, but it really did. It was really neat. When that occurred, I remember thinking, "Oh my goodness, the whole world is meditating now." You know, and it gave everybody the chance to stop because they didn't have a choice. They had to stop. I would say the lockdown was the best thing that happened for the planet. Even though it wasn't very much fun.
right. Yeah. What? Sorry.
Okay. It
Here's
happens
my
every
cat.
time when I do
Everybody, I'm
sessions.
a cat lover. Here's my cat.
Every time I'm on a Zoom meeting, people's animals come to the screen. It's just how it works. It happens in real
It's
life.
funny that yes. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, I remember how quiet it was. Like it was almost, I mean, the roads, it was weird. Like the nobody was on the roads. Very eerie, and it was like where there was because I live outside of the DC area, so there's like enormous amount of traffic in either Maryland, DC, Virginia. Like it's just there, you know. And suddenly it was like nobody's there. It was like there are times it felt like I was like it suddenly became a ghost town,
Yeah.
because that was just eerie to me.
Yeah. It
And
was
even Washington, yeah,
okay.
even like DC. And I was started following someone who was driving around DC and saying it's a ghost town. There's no, I mean, DC's always crowded, always. And whether people are walking around or the streets, it's like nobody. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My internet might be the one that's doing this like delay every once in a while. So sometimes I don't know you're talking. My
It's
apologies.
okay. No, it's okay.
Yeah, I was agreeing, and that just seeing the world, it was like the reset. And we had another reset since then. So you kind of segued into that. That's why I got excited is that so the reset that happened March 4th is through the window into the just a couple of days from now. And then I saw that Wade just mentioned what I was going to say, which is really cool, talking about the it's called the Parade of Planets on June 3rd.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have any scientific data to tell you this is provable, but I can say this is that I've gotten, and my daughter as well, separately without communicating with each other. There's more than we are aware of or being told about the alignments of the planets. It's being called the alignment of 6 planets, but there's more, quite a bit more in this row, and some of them are known and some of them aren't, though none of them are being told to us. We're talking about exoplanets as well as inner solar that are within our solar system as well, that we aren't aware of. Not to mention the fact you want to line up the Earth is usually not counted in the parade. And even though we're there, we're part of that line. This is happening. But what I was going to say to you about the science that we can't prove is I've known for a little while now that there's going to be so every time that spirits told me about the sun energy that's going to come in, it's happened. And I'm not saying that it's like a scary event or anything like this. Is just we're going to get some more energy from the sun on that day too, so there's more of that, to keep that in mind. And that's just in a couple of days. Why is this needed to be brought up right now? It's because this is probably the next time I'm going to talk to anybody. So I want to let everybody know about how important it is. And I felt like you segued it because there's this is the other part of the swinging of the door of the awakening. So there's going to be a lot more people like in mass trudging into the awakening from this energy that happens on this particular day. So, and Spirit has asked, didn't ask. When I asked Spirit to give some example of what this is like, they showed me it would be the difference between walking into a shower with an umbrella or with buckets. Do you want to collect the energy that's freely given you and utilize it? Or are you going to allow yourself to go into the low self-worth and not believe that you are worthy of receiving, which is the umbrella? We are all worth it. I am open to receive. Thank you. I am open to receive. Those types of words is all that's needed. So thank you for letting me interrupt that flow to talk about that. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. No, I was just thinking, wow, that's very cool information. I was saying analogy, but that I have never heard that. That's really cool. So you're welcome. Yeah.
Are you so at this juncture in your particular phase of awakening, you said that you've kind of collected some people and have these buddies in this awakening. How is that? I'm not sure how I want to ask this question. I'm excited to hear about the development of these relationships and how's that moving through in the awakening together experience.
I mentioned my friend Connie. She's the one constant. And I think that I see it online. I haven't talked to this other friend about it. I just see
That
it.
counts.
Yeah. So there's and at some point we're gonna get together. We actually grew up in the same neighborhood. And so it was, which is cool. And there's some people that like I, went to different schools when I was a kid. So I see some people saying some things that I'm like, okay, I don't agree with. I don't know if they're there yet, but it's whatever, And other people, I'm like, it's very cool. Like a lot of some activism friends who don't live where I do, but they're still like at the I was like other end of the state, I guess. They post a lot of stuff. It's like, oh, that's cool. And it's just that kind of I just I don't realize that I used to judge people privately and secretly, and I don't do it anymore. But that now I'm like, that's just because I wanted everyone to be on the same journey with me. But I think that was like, come on everybody, let's go. But it's cool that so, and like with the moons, like people are who I never used to be like, oh, look at that moon, look at that moon, they're like, oh, this moon and that moon. I'm like, that's interesting, to see people sharing, oh, look at the moon, and even with the Northern Lights, that
The Southern Lights.
Southern Lights, Northern Lights, whatever, I still think of it as Northern, but Southern, and I was like, that's cool. People are talking about that, which is they're like sharing that. I'm like, wow, that was very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Because it's again, it was not something they shared online, but it's like they're like, I tried to get up, I was up at 3 a.m. I went outside and I missed it, or I got a picture of it, oh, I got a picture of this moon, or I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so yeah, sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Like it was cool that rained a couple of days ago, and I looked out my window and there was a rainbow. And I was like, let me get a picture. And it was like, no, I don't think so, because it was still raining. I didn't want my phone to get wet. But it was
Yeah.
I tried to sort of get a picture, but that was really cool. I don't often see rainbows. But that was really cool.
Have you noticed the clouds changing these days for you? Have you seen the clouds differently these days?
Is
Yeah.
there something behind that,
Yeah. There's a couple of different things. We could go down a couple of rabbit holes depending on which one you're looking at,
Right.
when it regard, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does spirit say, like, give you information about that?
Yeah, some of them are camouflaged vessels. Some of them are energies that feel like consciousness. Like the cloud itself is like a being. Some of them are and then of course there's the clouds that are obviously not really clouds. What I mean by that is they're developed, by human people. And that one is the one that people have the most concern about, the chemtrails or whatever they're called. I didn't actually believe that. I didn't believe that was true years and years ago. There was my ex's mom would talk about it. And my first thought every time she would bring up most of the things that I talk about now, because I didn't go into the conspiracy theory part. Like I didn't, because I just didn't, I don't, if I don't engage, it doesn't exist to me.
Mhm.
Like that's how we are living on so many different planetary systems at the same time. That's how there's, they say new Earth, old Earth, but they're truly overlapped. It's like you can see, but there's a glass barrier. So it's not like you aren't affected by some of the things that are playing out on this other Earth that we've left behind. It's really bizarre. And so I just totally derailed what I was saying. I don't even remember what I was just saying. So
I had that effect
anyway,
on people.
I do that. It happens a lot more than I would,
It's okay.
especially these days, man. Right now, the past couple of weeks, the amount of energy that's moving through our bodies, the amount of shaking that we're having as a result of it. And now that I have this really weird residue on my body, and I don't mean to be gross or anything like that, but it's one of those things where I was taking a shower today and it just wouldn't come off with soap or anything. Like there was something that we're purging.
Mm.
Our bodies are evolving, and we are moving into this higher frequency state by each one of these gifts of energy through the sun, the solar flares, and its gradual nature of doing so. It's feeding us to develop, to help bring us to this higher frequency. And so we can be within the planetary system that we're choosing to be on now. That make any sense?
It
So
does.
I don't know how.
Yes.
Also, Carmen mentioned earlier about the mouth thing again. Are you getting a foul taste in your mouth these days? Because I've been
I
getting it too.
Okay. So it was weird. I like not that often, but I had and I've got the rest of a frozen mango something in my freezer. And so I was like, oh, let me have some late at night. And then afterwards it was like it didn't taste like a mango aftertaste. It was very like a very I was like, what did I just eat? You know, you know, it didn't, it's like my mouth was dry. It was very strange. So when I thought, what is going on? So then I think because I on one of your lives I saw it was him or someone else mention coming the strange taste in our mouths.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so I was like, okay, I'm not alone. And yeah, it's weird. We're experiencing things that it's like, what is this and what's coming up? And I just been tired. And I was like, what am I? You know, I'd be like, okay, and I thought that I just eat a whole ton of carbs, you know, like but like because but then it was just like this low feeling of like, what is this? And I
Yeah.
like past like I guess like last Friday, I actually was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm just gonna lay down. And other times I try to push through it. And like then I try to sit on on the couch and I meditate and I fall asleep, which is good. So yeah, there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
we're we're experiencing that just when you think it's like, oh, I've worked on that. No, I keep working on it, keep working on it for myself and the other things that are we're all experiencing, but it's good to see like with your lives, people like saying what they're going through. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not alone, you know? It's so
Yeah.
helpful.
Makes it doable when you know you're not only and it there's always that part of our brains that usually go, I feel guilty for saying I'm glad you're in pain too, but I'm glad you're in pain too. You know what I mean? Or discomfort because we don't want someone else to be going through it, but we do because then we know we're not alone and that there's not some weird thing going on with us. You know, I mean, it's what we're doing is weird. It is weird.
It is.
It's just we're not unique in that our bodies are doing this thing. And the need for more salt and water, this is a solution to the mouth thing too. Swishing with salt water.
Okay.
Also, it's true. A lot of us, what we're purging right now is we're also needing more a variety of different types of B vitamin, you know, and D. You know, if you can go out and be in the sun. People are saying go away, go in that door, go indoors. When there's a mass statement of doing something to avoid something, I always question it too. It's like, why am I supposed to go indoors when the solar flares are happening? I mean, you know what I mean? We're getting some kind of upgrade during these things. It doesn't matter if you're inside or outside, you're going to get them. Though our bodies are needing that D vitamin more right now than was typical before. So sun is a natural way of getting this, you
Yeah.
know, and you'd mentioned something earlier. You said you were talking about the news, and I just wanted to kind of echo something because I found this. You mentioned that the same video I saw in 2020 where every news outlet was told to say something, and then someone put them together, and then pretty soon they're all saying it together. It looked like Hollywood squares on meth,
Right?
you know, and
Right.
um, I was trying to think of whatever it is that makes steroids on steroids, not meth, but you know, whatever.
Same
Um,
thing.
and that when that came through, the answer spirit said to me, and I've been noticing it ever since, is that this is this is intentional manifestation. And this is also why the Simpsons are so good at predicting the future. They're not predicting any future, they're creating the future by presenting information to a mass audience that will then consume the same information because they'll usually watch these videos over and over again, over and over. And then the majority then manifest this reality. This includes a lot of things that you see in these type of platforms, not simply war, you know, or things like that. And I just find this to be really useful information, and that sometimes I forget to tell people about that.
it's interesting because they're even just in email, I'd see certain things come across, and I'm like, nope, delete, delete, because I don't want to manifest that.
Yeah.
Whereas I see other people online say, oh my gosh, there's this, like even a few days ago, there was this storm, and I say that in quotes because it depends on who's saying what, and I was like, no, that's not happening. And so because I chose for it to not happen, or it could be that it's happening, and I've seen it, it's been weird, where when I live in a small town, but not too small, but where one side of the road or one way it's pouring and I can go around. It happened where I had a friend in my car coming back from somewhere and driving back where you can either go around another way or go straight through town. So I could see up ahead it was raining, and I was like, let's just go this way. And my friend's like, where are you going? I'm like, it's raining ahead of us. I'm gonna go around it. So it wasn't like looking back, that was not normal. The
That's
weather was
awesome.
not normal. I'm like, I'm going around it. And he's like, huh? And I'm like, it's raining. I don't feel like going through this. And I used to live in Florida where people would say it could be raining on one side of the street and not the other. And I questioned that. But then I experienced it, and it was just weird where people would say, oh, it's 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock and it's raining, and you knew because I guess that's what they were trying to, the weather guys or whatever were trying to manifest. People like, it's gonna rain, and then everyone's thinking about it, and it did. Like I
Right.
say that because I can look back on it and go, oh yeah, I didn't know it
Yeah.
then, but that's kind of things where I'm like, I don't want to manifest it, but I see other people are, and I don't want to do that. So it's sort of something like I'm learning.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can call it to you. It's there. There's a weather system somewhere. And then we can call it to us or away from us. And I've noticed that there's a lot of stuff where it will go around us. Um, sorry, I misread a comment and then found that it was just a typo. Since and I got distracted by it. It'll go around us. In fact, we had like some of these tornadoes that we were supposedly right in the line for, and it was actually right above our heads. But we
Wow.
were in the eye. And that's why when I looked out the window, I kept, both my daughter and I were like, because I heard it, and then she came in and she's like, "Don't worry, it's going around us." And I had just gotten that too. It's going around you, and to not be concerned, and all of a sudden my phone started going a kind of thing, the beep 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 every couple of seconds. I finally turned it off, just be quiet, and it turned out that it was, we were in the eye. You looked out the window and you could see the trees are fine, but just beyond that, those trees were going like this.
Wow.
It was really cool. And this is an example of manifesting. We chose not to agree to this, and I'm not saying put yourself in danger. If there's, a way to present more safety to yourself and you're in a path of a storm, definitely find a and knowing that when you're doing this is only a precautionary thing rather than it must be, and when we buy into the fear is the strongest energy. That's why the things that sucked in our childhood are easiest to recall. By the way, once we resolve these childhood elements, all of a sudden there are so many memories. We think that we have wiped our memory. We just can't access them because the fear and the sadness and all that kind of stuff, the trauma overshadows it. And as soon as I was able to resolve elements of my childhood, I have some fond memories now that we did, that I didn't recall before. So you get to choose your own reality. It's a choose your own adventure game. It is the Truman Show. We are in the Truman Show.
It really is. You
Yeah.
mentioned the EBS, and like when I was online, like on Facebook, and I saw a friend of mine was like, yeah, not my phone, but my friend was saying her phone was going off on all these different alerts. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because that's what she was manifesting, not me. And like my phone, not a one, nothing.
Really?
Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were side by side?
I'm sorry.
And you were side by side? Like you were there with her?
No, she's probably like 15 minutes from me, you know. We
Oh,
live in the same
wow.
town. Yeah, we live in the same town, just on different
Okay.
further apart. But
Okay.
it was just one of those where she said
Wow.
her phone was going off, and I'm like, no, mine's not. And I looked, and she shared a it was weird. It was she shared a picture of the radar, because I'm like, what's really going on? I was questioning that. And it was like there's somewhere someone's trying to create that. And
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I mean, there was a little bit of rain, but it wasn't as bad as what it looked like from my
Right.
head. And it's not like I live at, not like I'm at the top of the state and she's at the end of the state. We're talking 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So we're not that
Right.
far. Um,
That's
and so it was just wild. And I looked at the radar and it looked at one of it wasn't a blob. It just looked, it was the weirdest thing is that almost the image of this radar, the yellow and the brown and all those colors, it looked like the horns of an animal. And I was like, or ears of a rabbit. I was like, that's not right.
right. Right.
So I just wasn't going to buy into it.
Mhm.
And it's good. And I just have been doing like a lot more internal work to release stuff to, so I can see a little bit more clear. But it's good that I'm seeing these things. So it's like I used
Yeah.
to buy into it, and I was like, and there's stuff I'm like, nope. And I realized things happened. It's like, why did that happen? Oh yeah. And the next day I'm like, oh, that's why.
Right.
It's still this unconscious stuff that's kind of like, okay, it's coming up, that purging, and these little things that, you know, like a work in progress, I guess.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And it's an unlayering. You're making so much progress. All of us are, and if you look at this at the way that we've come to the conditioning that we're unlearning, I mean, it's just in itself a remarkable, overwhelmingly remarkable achievement to uncondition self at all. You know, like what was Ebola? Ebola was
Right?
pre-COVID. That was the practice. What was before that? There was, and before that, you go to AIDS, you go to the Spanish flu, you go to,
Sure. Bird
blah, blah,
flu.
blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of these things are all preparing us, teaching us to be in fear. Like if you want to look into anything that has to do with the galactics, most often it's invading the world to harvest our brains. Why is it always that they want to eat your brain? Come on.
I mean,
You know what
I know, if that were true, it would have happened already.
I know.
I mean,
Right.
and I follow somebody who was like, that's not, it's, yeah, and who talks about that stuff, not in fear, but in saying, hey, that's not why they are helping us. That's not why,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. It's like just what, and that's a whole other rabbit hole. That's a whole other show. And it's strangely fascinating to me because even I can say as a little child, as a teenager, I was kind of interested in that stuff. I wasn't afraid, and even in college, there was a professor teaching that stuff, the like UFO. And there was a lot of people, and even at that time, one of my roommates was taking his class. So it was cool to me then. So it doesn't freak me out. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating, or that, and following certain people, some people like, oh, that's really cool. I'm not freaked out by it
Right.
because, it's just, to me, it's just, oh, it's just a learning. I'm learning more, and it's like
Yeah.
there's so much more that really has been hidden from us that,
Yes.
just in more ways than I don't know. you know, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like so much. You know, I was thinking about that last night. Like, wow. Even like watching something last night, it's like, wow, so much about what I thought like growing up. Jewish, not totally not, you know, a lot of my beliefs are being unraveled, which I guess is a good thing. Um, you
Okay.
know, and I guess watching a lot of Aaron Aki's videos, and he was interviewed by someone last night, or actually it was probably a yeah, he was interviewed by someone, and he was even talking about the different language, and it was just like, okay, I gotta watch it again because there's just so much information that it's like, as you said, there's all this programming. It's conditioning and programming that I don't know, years and years and decades that you can't just unlearn within a year. It's just like it takes a lot because our cells are holding on to so much more than we realize.
Yeah. And to give yourself the benefit that you give anybody else of just the time it takes to get to that point. I mean, we're not going to figure this out overnight. We are in mass in some way. If you look at each person as a puzzle piece, we are already, it's just that we're coming together and understanding that a lot of the things you already knew or felt that was wrong or off or different, like you said earlier in this call, we pick up the pieces like a picking up the clues. And then one day, all of the clues together are brought to light somehow. And that part is undone. Then you can see it. And, as we're doing it, we're also realizing that everything is hidden in plain sight. And it's hidden with some type of layer of fear for to cause avoidance. I mean, there's a reason that they always talked about hell being down. They don't want anybody to go down because going down is actually what people call going up. When
Mm,
we go within the earth, that's where the realm of what we would call heaven exists. That's where all of these other amazing portal energies are at, going to the core of Gaia. And there's civilizations down there. There's a whole nother world. And it's the planet we're on is quite a bit larger than we're being told. There's a whole bunch to it. There's another 18 rabbit holes to talk about there, but
I know.
you're right. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating because to realize, wow, of course they were never going to teach us that in school. They didn't want us to know it. But, so it's fascinating. I mean, even when my friend shares video, she's like, "Oh, this is cool. I've got to watch it again." And even like learning something about crystals and learning like about the meridians of the body are kind of on the meridians of the land, which I
Yeah,
didn't know. I didn't, it's like there's more to it than that, and it's more than just our meridian lines are just kind of okay. And it was like the way that the gentleman who was interviewing Aaron, he was talking about it, and I also had read it through my friend shared about this woman doing grid work. And then she'd also mentioned because she does not Reiki, acupuncture, where she talks about the meridian lines and points where she would put
yeah,
needles and how it relates to the land, and the meridian lines and the land or ley lines, I guess. And it was like I put the two of those together and I was like, whoa, like it didn't register until yesterday. I'm like, wow, that's that's amazing, and there are a lot of people who do that kind of grid work. Not real. I was like,
yeah,
I didn't understand it, but just, talking or watching the videos that Todd interviewing people or other people talking about it, like how they do the grid work with the crystals. And even a friend of mine, my good friend, started doing that kind of stuff. But I was like, I didn't understand, like, what does that mean?
yeah,
How do you know where to go or where to put the crystals? But it's healing on a larger scale
yeah.
that and it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
And the chakras of the planet. There's the chakras that you can find. You can also see an example of, um, I think it's a dragon, that if you put it over the top of the planet, the way that it's lined up, where I am as the heart. And there's a whole bunch of different examples of this, that as above, so below. Speaking of as above, I'm one of those people that don't know what kind of great work I'm doing. I'm not, I know there are people that go, okay, I'm taking this crystal and I'm putting it here. Now I'm doing this. Now, there's like a lot. I'm on autopilot. And you can call it even airy fairy. How I am is that I just do. Okay, now I'm doing this. Like spirit guides me, and I also want to. Like there's part of me that just there's a drive of some kind to do that thing, or to go to that place. And then I have people like Stacy and Elsa and stuff that I'll just be telling them my day. I'm not even realizing how profound any of it is. I'm just like, and they're like, and I've recently started to let the Google's location thing track my history of my location. They're already doing it anyway, even if it's turned off. So what? You know what I mean? And now I can see the pictures I'm drawing without meaning to. If you get to see what Elsa says, though, this is what I was trying to get to, is she's like, all of the things that we talk about, if you pull up and look at the map, look at the world, you can actually see all of the symbols pointing you in the direction that you're meant to go, or showing you that they're all watching and agreeing with where you have gone or where you are. There's symbols that can only be seen from above in a spaceship or whatever. When we embody our truer selves, I find that we tend to be quite a lot taller, like very, very tall. And then
Wow.
you can look down and see the planet. There's been times where I've looked down and I'm like, I'm out of the atmosphere. It just, everybody's at different times different. Guardian said that at one point he thought he almost felt like he might have bumped his head on the moon,
Oh my
you
God.
know, and still
Wow.
standing on the earth, still standing here,
Wow.
and so if you pull back and look at the map of the places that you travel, and allow your childlike mind, is the words that they used in order to teach us not to want to do it, because it's childlike and it's not like sophisticated or something like that, which is incorrect, um, is that allow yourself, just like you did when you were a kid watching the clouds, see the shapes of the planet, see what's in there. There's faces of dragons, there's faces of rabbits, they're all guiding us to certain places. The land of the Hopi is shaped like a rabbit when you pull up high enough.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
Wow.
really, you brought it up, so I just
Oh,
wanted to.
it's amazing what I say, and then I don't even realize, like, for all I know, I may be actually being guided by spirit, and I don't know, but I probably am. But what you just said, and I was watching this video that my friend shared with me, with the woman doing the grid work, and she talked about Stone Mountain in Georgia, which is again this sacred place, but I can't it's hard to explain this, but where the different points are, it's like Alabama, obviously in Georgia, but South Carolina, I think Tennessee, I don't remember, but it was like really cool how she explained it. And I've been there, and I didn't, of course, this was a long time ago, because my brother and sister-in-law used to live not that, like, maybe 30 minutes from Stone Mountain, but I had no idea. And I was like, wow, because there's a lot of cool stuff around there. And I pulled it up, I think, on Google Earth or something. I was like, oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Something more is that, as we know, our planet's pole systems are shifting and have been for some time. The pole shift is also something that, remember that movie 2012? It's presented. We're told what's happening, but then there's fear added to it. So there's that. And we can choose to not engage in the fear and to manifest something that we're actually in a trajectory for. This is an attempt. I've always felt it to be an attempt to kind of pull that back to delay the ascension or whatever
Huh.
it is. Um, However, so the poles have been shifting for some time, notably and noticeably. And as they shift, so do the ley lines. So
Huh.
do all the things that we have known as being what the earth has, the energy of it. The poles shifting also are speeding up with these solar flares. So our planet has what's called a toroidal field, just like our body does. They're like rings that move through, we have it that go through our center and then they ring out. There's like loops on either side of us all the way around.
Yeah.
So does a planet. And when we get a solar flare, it'll pick up the outside layer of one of those toroidal field things. And as it goes through and over, then it pulls that particular ring over to the other side. And eventually it ends up being kind of lopsided and it figures itself out. Though
Okay.
what's happening is it's accelerating the pole shift, which is
Oh.
freaking awesome
Yeah.
because most ley lines, most of all of the strongest, most powerful center points in that ley line. I can't remember the middle, what the one I'm talking about, the powerful point is called right at the top of my head. They've shifted. And before, all of these governmental, places, like no matter overseas or not, a lot of it's US government that have like, the Pentagon kind of places they've taken. And now these are shifting. And there are these cool grid workers that are driven, not even sure why, to wander the planet right now. They're just traveling. Everybody wants to just travel. And
Wow.
they're creating stacks of stones because they just feel like it, but there looks good. And they're just making these stacks of stones. And then we're realizing that what they're doing is they're making the new I cannot believe I don't remember the name of that place in Scotland that has the cool stone, hence Stonehenge.
Oh, Stonehenge. Okay.
It's like they're making mini Stonehenge structures all over the planet and
Wow.
not even realizing it's because the ley line has shifted. Isn't that cool?
Wow. That is.
And like your friend with the crystals.
Yeah, she does these little, I don't know if she's, because I'm not there. She's in Michigan. So I don't know if and she actually did go to Arkansas last year to go crystal hunting. So that for her, that was um fun. Um and she came back with a whole lot of different crystals. Um, but
Mhm.
that's very, yeah, wow. Yeah, because I don't know if she actually goes and actually does the physical grid work, but she kind of does it. She shared a picture that she'd done a little bit, like in her house.
Yeah,
But I don't,
that
but
counts.
okay, yeah. So that's cool. That's really cool. I fully don't, I mean, I'm just beginning to understand and learn more about it. So I don't know much about it, but I'm just learning, and that's very cool.
And the crystal grid. So like there's somebody there's a YouTuber from Australia. I just follow her. She just has like she doesn't have a lot of followers at this time, but I'm surprised by it because of the work she does. It's Kristen's Crystal Grids, I think is how her name is. I'm not sure. I'll put her link later on. But you just get crystals, just grab some crystals and just make a picture on the ground. It's kind of like mandala, and like as you're doing it, you're like, okay, this is the symbol of wings. This is what angel wings look like to me, only with white on the outside. That's why I grabbed them. And you create with intention. You can take it to a specific area of your house. Outside is another example. That's where we usually see Christians. They're outside. And I watch her videos because I'm not in Australia, man. I'm in a town of 800 people in Arkansas. You know what I mean? And like, and even though we're different places, watching her videos, seeing the images of it and knowing and feeling her intention changes me. I feel the shift of improvement occur immediately. You know, like if it can be done so profoundly from so far, and this is a past tense video, this has been recorded. Likely the crystals have been now removed and used for some other grid. Yet
Wow.
I feel the impact of it. It's powerful stuff.
Wow. So this was, you said it was already recorded. How long ago was that recorded?
Sometimes that she had posted it the day or so before, sometimes I find something she did 6 months ago. And I'm
Okay.
just like, wow, thank you for that upgrade that you offered us. Because I just found it, or I've
Wow.
watched it before and didn't realize it. It came up in something, and I'm just like, wow, it just really, um, and her purity, you can feel. I don't mean to sit here and spend all my time on an interview for about
No,
you
no,
with
oh
you.
gosh, no, no, no. I'm enjoying this. Believe me, this is fun.
You just feel her purity of intention. She's a very pure soul. When I first heard her voice, she wasn't supposed to be talking, I think. I think it was an interview with her husband. And she was on one of Sology's interviews.
Okay.
Is where I heard her voice. She spoke up and I was like, and this is not her husband's awesome too, or a partner. I'm not sure what word people prefer. Um,
Mhm.
though when I heard her voice, I was like, I know you. I know you. Like I feel you on a soul level. And the messages that she provides, the activation she provides with her grid work is recommended. So I'm gonna post her link in the comments after this video is over for anyone who wants to find her because man, she is doing some awesome work.
Oh, I'm sure my friend will be like thrilled because that's very cool. It's amazing. We're all connected and yet doing different aspects
Yeah.
of this work, I mean, um, it's yeah, uh, that's cool. Yeah, I actually was interesting, like, because when I remember a few years back, and actually in 2020, with 2020, maybe it's late 2020, I guess, when my friend had shared something on Soology. I'm like, what's this? So that's sort of when I first started to just go on to Soology's Facebook page, but that was something I think, and then later Todd had mentioned that he and Morgan had done grid work, and was like, that was the first time I heard anybody mention grid work, and was like, okay, what does that mean? You know,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then other people in
We
their
don't know
videos
we're
were,
doing this stuff.
Yeah. It's
We don't always know we're
pretty,
doing this stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's
Sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. It's okay. It's totally fine. But yeah, and I was gonna say that other people have talked about doing grid work and the work that they're doing. It it just the stuff that I'm learning about, we're all like this whole consciousness and different aspects and doing different things is really fascinating, because before COVID and before like starting this, it was like I would have never have guessed this. Never,
Right.
I was thinking I was that, activist, and I'm gonna go find a job being an activist and get paid to do it. And boom, there's COVID. It's like, oh, I guess that's not the case.
Right.
And
That's
it's
a no.
right. No, I mean it was, it's all good. It's all good because it's now like it's exciting to be learning this and realizing that it's not what I thought it was. you know but it's all cool. I used to be like, because I used to be in so much pain, and I'd be like, people like, this is such a great time to be alive. I was like, I'm in pain. What do you mean? You know? But we were all feeling, you know, but yeah, I have a much different outlook now of all the cool stuff that we're learning and we're seeing, and the shifting. And even I feel it even. I've felt these waves of shift. It's like a I do this as like a wave, you know, an energetic wave that I feel. I'm like, what was that? Okay. And I just
Yeah.
like, it's like riding that energetic wave, or whether whatever's coming in is coming in,
Yeah.
or leaving.
All you need is an open heart of receiving. And receiving also is when you open your heart for receiving, you're also making it possible for that which needs to find a new place to be can go. Because a lot of times that it's just being held on by us and not even realizing that's what we're doing. It's crazy, and we're we exist within a self-perpetuated prison unless we choose to step out of the cycle of it, and this manifesting, this, participating in things that don't align with us, you know, the job concept, the 9 to 5 concept, it aligns with some people. Though many people discovered during the lockdown, that was another gift of that time, how much work they actually get done from home versus, let me say it differently, is that we are designed, there's a whole thing about this and we have to close up soon. So I won't go into a
Okay.
very detailed thing.
Okay.
Though there was a time when they figured out that if they extended the day's work, even though no one would get any other more work done during that window of time, then it was easier to keep people distracted enough that there's a couple different layers. That was around the same time that public school became a legal mandate. And so then they extended also the school day, as well as how long a child would be in school for their life, and so on and so forth. These are all things that when we uninvest in the 9 to 5, we find out that we actually require less money to survive than we do when we're working that kind of a job. Fascinating. And then we also find that it takes less time to do the thing. And then we have all this time to meditate or to hike or to veg out on the couch, whatever it is that makes you happy in your heart, you know,
Right.
and it's allowing ourselves to shift. I wanted to add before I forgot the crystal thing. We can do these grids in our house in a different way too, putting them in the corners of a room that you spend time, and then something that can point. I have other examples, but my daughter plays with my crystals and does her own thing. So there are, and draw it. So this kind of has a point, like touch, ding, like a fairy wand, one crystal, then go to the next one, ding, and do all the corners. And then where you spend your most time. So you want a cross section. You want these lines to then cross where you will be spending most of your time,
Okay.
So ding, and then through, ding. And if you want to add you can add as many crystals as you want. They don't only have to be 4 and 4 corners, and you can do this. And with the intention of elevating the energy that you're going to be spending your time in, it will be so. It works. It can uplift you. It can empower you. It can recharge you. You end up feeling rested when you're right now. I don't know if it'll work because all of us are feeling incredibly exhausted
Yes.
right now with the thing. But
Oh, yeah. Wow. No, I didn't know that. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah. And actually, that reminds me, I have some very small ones, but I've been meaning to find or buy like a crystal, something similar to what you have. Like a crystal. I mean, I have some different ones, but um yeah, like a quartz crystal. Was that a quartz crystal?
this one is this is special for me because we got it from the mine here, and it was
Oh,
completely clear, And then
Oh,
I
wow.
gave it to a really close friend that was here. And we were each, I was going to give it to everybody to put energy into it. When he opened his hands, I knew he was done. I could feel he was done. So I went to him. Just then he opened his eyes and looked at me. He opened his hand. I saw a poof of smoke come off his hands. He didn't see the smoke, and it wasn't clear anymore. They were all with me when I purchased this.
Wow.
There wasn't it was cool. It's really cool. So this is now my favorite crystal. But and it's from this land here because I, live where there's crystals. But
Right.
any crystal is rock, like it, whatever it is. There's also these different examples of these organites. You can get like a puck, or you can get like, I have my thing, something like this. These are also cool. This is
Okay.
another organite example. What these are, they're very affordable examples. This is a little powder bit of this stuff
Oh,
inside, as
oh,
well
okay.
as obsidian and some type of metal. You have it here too. And then what holds it together is this, whatever that plastic stuff's called, whatever. Um, and the metal draws in the unpleasant energy, and then the obsidian sends it out, and the quartz clears it. So it's like an energy purifier.
Okay.
You know, I got a pack of 4 of these on an Etsy place. I don't remember where anymore, but I told people about a year ago. Anyway, I got them for like $7, including shipping, all 4 of them.
Oh, sweet.
You
Okay.
don't They don't have to be expensive is what I'm trying to say, and
Right.
a precious stone doesn't have to be what we think is a precious stone either. It's a stone that's precious to you, that you put your own intention into.
Right.
Color does affect different areas of the chakras, so keeping in mind the color.
Right. Yeah, I actually seen those. I actually have one, and I bought them because I thought they were cool. I have one in my bedroom, and I was like, I don't know if it's, I kept having this like, I don't know if it's doing anything. And that thought probably meant that it wasn't going to do anything, and at that time. So and I actually have one for a pyramid, forget what's in it, but for EMF, which I actually have in my office. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, so and I have an orange one for the like a pyramid because the website my friend shared with me, and it's like, okay. So for the sacral, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
sacral chakra, the sacral, I want to say the orange chakra, the sacral. So I have a little pyramid with the orange and copper and something else in it. But yeah, there's because my friend is so into that stuff. It's like I pretty much trust whatever she's going to share with me, that it's, the right stuff.
Yeah. I don't really know all the way either. Like, I mean, I guess about, certain because of the color. I know my daughter knows the stuff, and she's never studied it outside of just natural inner engagement. Like, when she was really young, I would just hand her crystals and she'd say, "This one's for protection." And I'm like, "Oh, that's an obsidian." I would look it up. Oh, I guess it is for protection, and like, and we would do this thing, and she kind of knows. Um, and so there's just, I don't know. I can tell you though, I know where the chakras are and what colors they are. And so just like most people, we can look those up really easily. The color that's closest to the area of your body that is affected, that's closest to that chakra, it will help you the most at that time. I would say that more people than not are working through their sacral chakra evolution right now. Um, Fascinating. I've discovered recently that surprising number of individuals have stored their inner child there in their sacral chakra. And
Interesting.
so their sacral feels like a consciousness because there is someone there.
Wow.
Weird, right?
But I mean, it makes sense, that, yeah, yeah, doing some inner child work. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It comes up and it's like, mhm, but it's all good.
you just love her. Just hold her. No, tell her she's safe. If you're, joining in, there's 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 communication that needs to be had with these inner children. And fast something else to add to that before I forget to say this, because this is something that's kind of new, is that some people have their inner children from previous lifetimes there still too. And you'll hear more than one voice, more than one child's voice speaking out. And there's usually a neglected feeling. So what happens I'm a social worker, and my earlier, that was my career I chose. And um, meeting a child who's been neglected and been abused, there's a way to build rapport, slow and gentle and loving and reassurance. You're safe now. You're loved. I love you. I got you. Those types of things are hard for people to say to themselves. It's crazy. It's so cringeworthy for most people. And so we're saying it to this child. It's easier to say because you are saying it to a baby. You're not saying it to, you're not saying it to yourself in the way that you would expect. And it's like a loophole or a back door to get the chance to see how awesome you really are.
It's no, yep. When I first, occasionally, when I'm working with another person doing energy work, she's like, Jeff, I'm here. You need to say this stuff. And I'm like, I tried it, and it was just like, it's weird. It just didn't feel right. I mean, it just kind of, the mind goes like, you're just saying it to make, you don't know, there's sort of this, it's easier to say to another person than it is to yourself, because it just feels more egotistical. I don't know. It's like, oh, look at me. I feel so good. You know what I mean? It just feels, it just feels
That's the
weird,
conditioning. That's the
but
conditioning.
but yeah, I guess the more you do it, and then you kind of get used to it and like, it's okay.
Now I can say I'm awesome and not feel like, I gotta tell a joke now, or something. Because I discovered that, so the culture I was raised in, probably similar to you, the vanity is the thing to avoid at all costs. Vanity is the thing not to do. And then
Yeah.
I read it in the dictionary. It's not simply holding yourself above another. It's also holding yourself below another. And so we've all been, many of us, encouraged to do this lower than, and like a lot of the religions and groups like this were taught to humble self and saying things like, I don't even want to say it, though, saying that there's less than worthiness, in front of this other energy and all this kind of stuff, teaching us to diminish self. And as we do that, it disempowers, it takes away. It's hard. It is hard to do it. My daughter would be asleep behind a closed door. I'd be behind a closed door in my bed under a blanket, and I would still be like so embarrassed to say things that were kind. Like I mean, I was saying, it was like I'm hiding to masturbate, but I was saying I love you to myself. Like that's a broken conditioning system that we have,
Mhm.
and to say I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I am. And so are you.
Mhm.
Like, it's okay to say that. It's okay to say how beautiful you are. And you're not holding yourself above somebody. You're beginning to bring yourself at some type of equalness to another. And the idea is to find that equality.
Right.
It's hard to do at first, though.
It is, yeah, and I was it's interesting. I was doing some emotional freedom technique, and like and I tried that last year, and for a couple of days that little voice was like, it's not working, so I stopped, so but now I've gone back to it, and it's a different, it feels different, like it feels like, yeah, this is really working. And there was like a little workbook that you could download. And I thought, oh, let's see what this is about. And, I'm like, oh, let's, sure, why not put some entries. And what was fascinating was when I was just typing in the workbook online, of course, I'm the only one who, will see it, which is good. So it's like, wow, then all these other thoughts of what I created as the reason for not feeling good enough or being like, I'm the one who created that, because it came from when I was a kid, because I didn't get that part in the high school play, or I didn't get into that, in the specific school and college, because it was like, oh, I must not be good enough. And we all have that, whatever that is that we create, because I had forgotten about them. I totally forgot about them. And it just, I thought, whoa, they've been hidden. Like I mean, not like anybody has said, I'm the only one who it just kept getting pushed down and pushed down and pushed down.
Yeah.
But it was like, wow, it just I didn't realize I was gonna say that. Um, but it's that kind of, because what you said, so I'm like, okay, I'll share that. But that's what had come up. I'm like, wow, and it's just that no, nobody else at that time. It wasn't like when I was in high school, I was trying out for the lead and I was like, I don't know, I'll just try for it, because I love theater. And no, it's not like the theater teacher came up to me and said, "You're not good," It's like she never said that, but that's what I created, and that was something, and I was fine. I was like, okay, no big deal, and but it's as kids, we just create something in our head that,
Yeah.
that and that we hold on to and hold on to.
That you're not good enough, you're not worthy,
Not
blah, blah,
smart enough,
blah.
not cute enough, that whole like, don't worry, I'm not holding on to like this thought I'm not cute enough, because I'm still holding on to, oh my God, that cute boy didn't like me. And
Well,
no,
not
I
that
let go of
though.
that a long time ago.
That's actually how I started the effective self-affirmations though, is those moments, whatever it is, the cringe moment, the thing that happened when you were ninth grade, the thing that happened when you were 4, whatever it is that pops up and you go, oh, you know, those moments when they would come up, I would say out loud to myself, I would state my name and I'd say, I forgive you. And I'd mean it. And I a lot, it sounds weird. This was spirit guided. It was Archangel Michael who told me, who suggested I do that. And I at that point learned to just, okay, like it feels like I know the energy of Archangel Michael. I know this is correct. So let's just do it. And forgiveness doesn't exist. It's not real, though it is real when we haven't forgiven self. Like when we eliminate that from ourselves. And as I start to say those things, I forgive you, when those cringe moments would come up, then self-love started to move in the place of, these things that would come up over and over again. Sometimes you wouldn't hear from them for decades. And just as you were about to fall asleep, they come sneaking and those are the moments to say, I forgive you to you, and once that magic spell is broken, it's released, that self-imposed spell is released, then we are able to find the ability to say, I'm the shit. I'm beautiful. I love people. And to not cringe at saying that out loud. Because there's some conditioning that means that you're holding yourself above someone. You know what I mean? It's cool. So I'm glad that you brought that up because that was really how it started for me.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. It's helpful to bring stuff up, whether you realize it or not.
Well, I need to get going in a few minutes, but I thought, is there something you would like to share that we haven't been able to bring forward in this conversation? This has been such a fun conversation. I'd go longer if I
Oh my gosh.
could.
I was like, I want to be over an hour. Wow, it's like 4:35.
Yeah,
Wow.
someone just said 333, and I'm like, oh yeah, hey, it is 333. And just
Yeah.
then we had 33 people in the audience at that point. That was cool.
Oh, cool. Wow. No, it's I really don't have anything else to say. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. So thank you. I would never again, when I would watch her live, and sometimes you'd be like, or say something like on Facebook occasionally, or is anybody else, anyone interested? I'd be like, no, no, I don't have anything, like I just didn't have that. But it was when you asked me, I'm like, why not? Oh no.
I'm really glad.
This just in that very second when I was saying that, this McAfee screen came up. I
Oh,
had to cancel it. That is wild. Anyway, no,
nice.
I'm good. So this was truly a lot of fun, Mila. I just thank you so much. I really had a blast. I mean, it was very cool because it was the conversation just kind of flowed. It wasn't like here's an agenda, this is what we're gonna talk. It was just like just what however it went, and which is the best, I think.
It's just a chat.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are comfortable enough that we'll do sessions and we just won't call it that,
Right.
and so I don't choose to bring up people's private experiences without them having consented, though. And so that's only if it's been specifically suggested before. Um, and so if anyone else is interested in coming, we do a show every Wednesday. So let me know if anybody else wants to be in. And thank you so much for the honor and for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
This is
Um,
great.
yeah. For all of you, just remember the third. The third is on Monday. This is the Parade of Planets. You'll see this just pre-dawn. So it's very early or very late, depending on how you look at it. Just before the sun comes up, you'll be able to see the line of 6 planets with your, I think that one or two of them you'll have to use a telescope or binoculars, though it's going to be really spectacular moment. At that time, there's also more energy coming in. So as Spirit says, you can either take an umbrella and not get the energy on you as you get into the shower, or take cups with you and collect it to use it. It's a gift that you can choose to receive. Many of us are in this place of so low self-worth. And so stating, I am open to receive was the assistance that was guided us to tell how to open self to receive, even with low self-worth. And then this helps the low self-worth be um, assisted. So thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Karma knows from Arkansas too. Awesome. Well, I'm in Arkansas. Maybe you should send me an email. Maybe we can meet up. Um, I love you. Thank you for, when I get done, when I click this, you're actually going to disappear too. So we're just going to end the call, just so you know. I don't want you to be surprised and thrown off abruptly. But
Okay.
thank you so much. And if you ever want to join us again, please let me know. Okay.
Right.
Sending you love, sending you all love. You got this. We're together. This is the part of the ride we've all been waiting for. So it's going to be amazing. I love you. Thank you again.